The truth is tonight, most of us, let me get real, all of us, we don't know how to run our own lives. We make mistakes. Matter of fact, if there's one thing that we're all good at, and that's making a mess of our life. Anybody would say amen? Anybody? I mean, anybody ever know, like I tell my, I can take something good and mess it up. God can give me something great, and I am just the man that can mess it up. Anybody know what I'm talking about? We can make a mess of things. And the truth is, we can get ourselves, because of these type of decisions, okay, stay with me, we can get our lives into a place of drowning. I'll never forget being a young man. I was 20 years old. I was making $98,000 a year without bonuses or anything. And I went out and I bought me a brand new 2000 model truck. All right, a Chevrolet single cab truck. It had a 5-speed standard with a 4.3 6-cylinder engine. It had no carpet. It had an AM FM radio, not even a tape player or a CD player. It had an old cloth seat. I'm not talking about that soft, lush cloth like they put in like an LT model. This was a base model. It had that old, felt like what you call a scrub brush. You know what I'm talking about? SOS pad. It felt like that. You get in, it's great to tear your jeans off just about. I wore out a pair of jeans just getting in and out of that thing. It was just base of the base. It had little ugly 16-inch wheels on it. It was just pitiful looking. And I traded in a fine truck, understand, and to get this thing. And I'll never forget, I was rolling in high cotton. I was going to fix this thing up. And then God said, you know what? I'm going to open a door for you to go to Oakdale, Louisiana and be youth pastor. Now, let me help you out. I bought the truck in January 27th of 2000. And in February, God opened the door for a youth pastor. And by April the 1st, I was moved to Oakdale, Louisiana, and being full-time youth pastor. Now, some of you this is going to shock you, so hold on. Youth pastors don't make $98,000 a year. I know it's going to shock you. Just hold on to your seats. Matter of fact, they don't make close to $98,000. Matter of fact, they don't make half of 98. They don't even make a quarter of $98,000. I was making $238.80 a week. For those of you that need the gross amount, it was right around $16,000 a year. That worked out with everything, and the church I was at, I really made $300, but they took my tithes off first, just in case I got tempted to keep them. They went ahead and just held them out for me and made sure I was all right. So, so they took $30 for offering, for $15 for my half shekel, and then they took taxes out, and when it all settled down, I was making $238.80 a week. Now, this brand new truck that God blessed me with, the note on it was $465 a month. So 2 weeks of my check, you talk about mess something up. The truck I had was paid for. The truck I had didn't have a note on it. And now I went and got this brand new one, and I just knew it was a miracle from God. And the guy at the bank, I'll never forget it, my wife will never forget his name. His name was Mike Penry, and Mike Penry would call every month. Mr. Vickery, it's about that time for that payment. I know, Mike. She would hit play on that answer machine, and you know how you do. You don't answer even if you're home, and I know what Mike wants. Is this too real for y'all? Is this okay? Y'all don't think less of me when I'm done, because I recovered pretty well after God got a hold of me. But here Mike is calling, and I'm going, oh, Lord, here we go. So finally, you pick up the phone. I know, Mike. Well, Mr. Vicker, we need it. I know you're going to get it as soon as I get it. I promise. Whenever I get it, you're going to get it. And just make a mess, if you will, out of it. And so a guy comes up and he says, hey, I need you to do some computer work for me. And I'm like, hey, I need the money, And so you'd do anything. A guy comes up and says, I need you to roof. I'll go roof. You need me to help construct and build a house. Hey, I'll go help work in construction and build a house. Why? Because when you're floundering, you will reach for anything. Not because it's the will of God, not because it's what you need, not because it's going to save you. And here's the problem. When your life gets into a place where you are just out of sorts. Anybody ever been there where you don't know which way is up, where you don't know which way is down, where you don't know what in the world you're going to do? Can I tell you, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to look for anything that will bring some form of solidarity, some form of structure, if you will, into your lives. And here's the problem. So many times we have reached as people, we reach for stuff that is not going to save us. And then we wonder why we live one disappointment after the next disappointment. We wonder why we live one failure after the next failure. You want to know people that change churches all the time. They're always looking for the next big thing. You want to know why? Because they don't realize, understand, it ain't about where you're at. It's about who's in the house. It's about living. I'm not trying to be ugly. What I'm trying to help you is, you ever wonder when they start bouncing, what are they doing? They're looking for something. They're still searching for something. People that, and here's the problem. You'll go for, everybody listen, you'll just watch me. You'll go for whatever is thrown at you. In other words, if this bottle's thrown at you, you'll grab it. If I threw a rope at you, you'd grab it. If I threw a snake at you, you would just about grab it. And it's not going to save you. That's why what happens is we get entangled in junk after junk, looking for something to bring some stability. That's why you ever think, and I'm not against any of this, I'm just trying to help you out. There's people that have marital problems, and you know what they'll do? They'll say, you know what we need to do? We need to take up putt-putt golf. Like putt-putt golf has ever saved a marriage. But you know what? They'll say, let's go do putt-putt. This will be our thing. Me and you, we'll do putt-putt golf for every Monday night. Me and you, babe, we're playing putt-putt golf. And before long, putt-putt golf, they realize, they get up there, they join the putt-putt golf league. They join the putt-putt golf team. And before you know it, it's just another thing that they have to be obligated to. It's just another thing that they have to, now they don't, they've got in the league. They're not as good as every other couple. He's done wanting to be with somebody else, and she's wishing she had another partner on her team because he's no good. And now all of a sudden, the very thing that you thought was going to save your marriage, the very thing that you thought was going to save your family is not producing what you thought it was going to produce because you just grabbed for some form of stability in the midst of chaos. And now you're at the place where you realize, wait a minute, can you imagine drowning in a pool and somebody throw you a bottle of water and you grab it and you're kind of like, what in the world? And that's where a lot of us get to. We grab stuff because our life is so chaotic that here's the truth. I know some of you aren't going to believe this. I don't care how spastic you are. There is a structure that each one of us seek out. We seek some form of balance, some form of stability, some form of familiarity that will save us. And here's the problem. There is only one thing that will save. The putt-putt club is not going to save it. Understand, the golf club is not going to save it. I'm not trying to be ugly, but just joining some. I heard a couple the other day, they said, oh yeah, we took up jiu-jitsu. Why'd you do that? Well, we were having marriage trouble, and somebody said, hey, jiu-jitsu is a disciplined art, and you're going to really need this, and this will really help your marriage. It'll help discipline you. And so they said, you know what? We'll try anything. And so they go up and take up jiu-jitsu. You know what? 6 months later, they found out they were real good at jiu-jitsu and not real good at their marriage still. Does that make sense? And because their marriage was no better, I asked him, I said, how's your marriage? He said, well, the marriage is no better, but my jiu-jitsu's improving. Yes, sir. Why? Because at a time of drowning, you'll reach for anything. This is where we miss it as humans, okay? Just as humans. There's only one thing that can save. There's only one thing that can really fix our lives. And I don't know why it is, but we will try everything else. And when things get bad, we'll try something new. When things get tough, we'll go out and do something else. And the reality of it is, we're reaching, if you will, we're grasping for straws that'll never be able to save us. And when Joshua stood in our text, he has reached a point, his leadership is about over. And he has gotten to a place where now the children of Israel have seen the hand of God in a mighty way, to the point that God speaks to Joshua and the Lord says, look, you've seen me part the Red Sea. You've seen me drive your enemies out from you. You've seen when Balaam come and tried to curse you. You've seen that I wouldn't let him and I made him bless you instead. He says, you have seen all of this. He says, so you need to make a decision. Understand, he says, listen, serve the Lord. But if it seem evil, and this is where most people are at in our society today, they have never settled the issue of what they're going to do. He says, if it seem evil to serve the Lord, then go and do whatever you want to do. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Now, I know I'm about to step on somebody's toes, but just stay with me. There was a powerful statement. First of all, he had already settled the issue, and he said, I'm not grasping for water bottles. I'm not looking for the next jiu-jitsu class to start up so that I can get some stability and make some sense in my life. I've already found stability. He parted the Red Sea for me. He brought water from a rock. He rained manna down from heaven. And it's not going to change just because I don't feel good right now. It's not going to change because things aren't like I want right now. God is the only thing that is able to save my life. And so he makes a statement, and this is where I want you to see. Some of us are not realizing the cost. He says, if it's evil for you to serve God, then that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I've had to get to that point as a pastor. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. It's not going to help you. It's not the will of God. Matter of fact, you'll regret it later, but if that's what your just heart is set on doing, now I'll try to talk you out of it, but if that's what you're going to do, then that's fine. And this is where Joshua's at. He said, if that's what you want to do, he said, then go ahead and serve them. He said, but as for me and my house, you want to know why? And this is, I've never seen this or heard this, but let me just stay with me for just a second. He said, as for me and my house. You want to know why he stated that? Because he realized the cost. And there are some of us that don't realize the real cost hidden when we start flailing and just reaching after any old thing that's not able to save us. But Joshua understood the cost, and he said, I'm going to stay in this thing because me and my children and my wife, we're going to stay planted and we're going to stay put, and we're not going to look, understand that one thing and chase something else and chase this over here. He said there's too high of a cost, and if I get out of this, then my children are going to get out of this. When you look at the context, he was saying, listen, there's some things that you can do if you want to, but it's going to affect your families. It's going to affect your children. It's going to affect your wife. And Joshua said, but not me. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. You've got a choice to make, but I've already made it. Why? Because there's too high of a cost. I'm wondering if sometimes we don't really realize the high cost of missing church, the high cost of not being faithful, the high cost not trying to be ugly when we choose to sit there instead of worship, and our children are watching, and you think you're just having a bad night, but they're marking and saying, Mama don't worship, and Daddy don't worship, and you know what? I don't have to worship worship. And it's more than just a worship service. There's a high cost when you make. I wonder how many times a kid is looked over, and I know we don't have a lot of, I purposely want to preach this on a Wednesday night, and they see mom and dad on the cell phone while pastor's preaching or while worship is going on, and they conclude, hey, this ain't legit. Mom and dad's just doing this for show. Understand? But what would happen if we really began to realize that there is a higher cost than what I originally thought? I can go down this road if I want to, but my children are going to follow me. My wife is going to follow me. And I'm not trying to be ugly, but there's decisions that we make that we don't realize. I can grab this water bottle if I want to, but grabbing it means I'm going to drown. I need something that can save me, not just something that has a little weight to it. What would happen? Not trying to be mean, but what would happen tonight? And this is, I said I was going to teach, and this is teaching, but preaching is teaching loud. All right? See, I don't have to worry about how loud I get over here. Now, at the apartment, I got to worry about it, but over here, I can get as loud as I want to. All right? But the truth of the matter is the thing is we're grasping for things, and we're putting things in our lives, and we're grabbing things and making decisions. And we're really not counting the cost of what it's going to really cost us. See, there's a price, and then there's a cost. Does that make sense? I've got horses, and y'all know that. And horses, aren't cheap on the price tag. If you get a good horse, it's going to cost you a few dollars. All right, that's the price of it. The price, in other words, you pay $1,000 for a horse, that's the price. That's not the cost. The cost comes later. The cost comes when you got to get out every day and you got to feed them and you got to buy the worm medicine and you got to buy the feeding medicine and you got to get up early and you got to stay up late and you got to make sure they got hay and you got to make sure they got grass and you got to brush them out and you got to clean their tail and you got to clean their mane and you got to keep. Why? That's the cost. The price is different than the cost. And so many times we will be flailing in life and we'll just do something and we'll never count the cost. Could it be this is why Jesus said a wise man, if he goes to build a house, or you could build anything, if he goes to do anything, he never does it without counting the cost. How many times in our society, how many times in our own life have we made decisions but never have realized there's going to come a cost, and that cost may not be monetary, that cost may be your children, that cost may be your spouse, that cost may be your family. Could it be that Joshua got to the place and said, y'all go that way if that's the way you want to go. But as for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord. Somebody said, well, how does he know his house is going to serve the Lord? Because he's the head. Oh, boy. Y'all still believe that, right? It's Christ. Then it's the husband, submitted to Christ. And then, I know I'm in 2019, then it's the wife. Then it's the children. And too many times we don't realize it. When it works out and the husband does what we want him to do, I'll follow you anywhere as long as you do what I want to do. That's not the way it works, Sugar Plum. Understand, the way it really works is that as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Doesn't matter what you want to do. Doesn't matter what you think about it. This is where the head is going. And guess what? The rest of the ship follows the head. This is where we're going. This is where, see, that's why you need, I didn't say want, you need a pastor in your life. And I'm not saying you need a preacher. I'm not saying you need a songwriter. I'm not saying you need a comedian. That's why you need a pastor in your life. Somebody that can say, hey, that's not the way. This is the way. As for me and my house, this is the way that we're going. And something's wrong with us when when we claim to be Christians and we understand, and when the man of God says, hey, this is where we're going, and we bow up and say, I'm not going that way. The reality of it is you're out of the Word of God. So how can you be living for God and be out of His Word? Oh, boy, I know. Sister Crystal ain't even smiling on that one. I lost her. I'm telling you, bless God. I'm just kidding. But the reality of it is, see, we like God as long as God's convenient and does what we want Him to do. But the moment, anybody ever go reading some things and you're like, oh God, I forgot all that was in there. Close that up. I'd rather not know. But you don't realize the cost. See, you don't realize the cost when you lose your temper. And you choose to act like a maniac. And your little kids are watching, or your wife is watching, or your husband's watching. You don't realize the cost. See, I can take you to people that when God wasn't convenient, or God didn't do what they wanted to do, they decided they wasn't going to serve the Lord anymore. And they didn't realize that their kids wasn't going to serve them. And they come running back and said, oh, Pastor, if I'd only known what this was going to do to my kids, I would have stayed in. If I'd only known what my unfaithfulness was going to do to my children, was going to do to my family, then I would have just stayed faithful. If I knew what the cost was really going to be, then I would have just stayed faithful. See, some of us don't realize the power of making a decision and the cost of that decision. Anybody ever made a bad decision? Just raise your hand. It's all right. We're probably among good company here. Now, have you ever made a decision that it was a bad decision and you probably knew or sensed that it was a bad decision even when you made it? You know what I'm talking about? It's like, I know I shouldn't do this, but, right? I know this ain't right, but, right? And so, but if we were to be honest, you made that decision and you knew it wasn't the best decision, but you really didn't realize the cost. Anybody ever put something on Facebook and like, oh, God. Anybody ever said something and you wish you could just bring those words right back in? Like, that did not come out. Anybody ever said, no, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind, and if they don't like it, they can all go to hell. You know? And then you go and do it. And then you're like, oh, boy. I didn't realize it was such a cost. See, we think that we live in a vacuum where our decisions are independent of the rest of our lives. But Joshua made a statement that jumped out of the page at me as I was just reading it here, well, I don't know how many days ago it was. And I began to write it down, count. Joshua understood there was a cost that the other Israelites didn't understand. And I'm going to hurry. But he understood there's a higher cost here. Oh, well, I'm not going to serve God. I'm going to go do something, whatever I want to do, because I don't like it. I don't like God and all this stuff. I'm just going to go do this over here. But Joshua said, no, there's a higher cost. So he makes a statement and says, as for me and my house. You realize, I began to look this up, and you can check me on it, but Hebrews, anybody ever heard of Hebrews chapter 11 called the roll call of faith? You know what I'm talking about? Where it says, and it talks about Moses and Abraham, and it says, and all these subdued kingdoms, and where heroes understand of faith, that they were all faithful men found faithful. I got to reading that list, and I'm just going to help you real quick. I got to reading that list, and there's 3 people in there that I can't find anything just spectacular that they did. All right? Just stay with me. The first one is Rahab. She's in there. Now, Rahab is interesting because it says Rahab the harlot. Now, y'all remember Rahab. Rahab was the lady that lived on the wall, that was a prostitute. And when Joshua and Caleb came to spy out the land, they looked and they were almost going to get caught. And Rahab took them in. Get this is all she did. She took them in and she said, please don't destroy me and my family when God brings y'all over. And they looked and they said, okay, if you'll let us out this window and hang a scarlet cloth, a rope in this window and get your family in this house. That was her job. This is her great faith that Hebrews talks about. She got a rope and hung it in the window and got all of her family. This is what they said. They said, what would you have us do? Now get this. This harlot, this prostitute says, I want you to spare me and my family. You imagine the audacity? You imagine what her family has probably called her? You know, you prostitute, you hooker, you know, you hoe, you know, whatever. You imagine what they probably called her? But here she is, looking at the two men that her future is in the palm of their hand. And she says, listen, don't just save me, but save me and my family. And they looked at her and said, whoever you bring in this house, they'll be spared. And all I can find is Rahab. Now watch this. But when Jesus brings her out in the New Testament, he drops off the harlot and says just Rahab. Why? Because it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your past looks like. You can make a decision that says, wait a minute, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. As you imagine what would happen if somebody really believed that and said, I don't care what I did in my past life. I don't care what I did 15 years ago. I don't care how many mistakes I've made. I've made up in my mind that if God's able, he can save me and my family. As for me and my house. And the only thing she did was save her family. And she squeezes herself in to the roll call of faith. I mean, we talk about Noah. He's in there. He's in the roll call of faith. And let me help you out. He saved 8 people. Can you imagine? You talk about building a church. He worked 120 years and saved 8 people. Let me help some of you out. And I know this is going to come across wrong, but I'm going to help you anyways. He got his charge at 500 years of age. And some of you, hell's been lying to you. Well, it's too late. Noah didn't start saving his family till he was 500 years old. And some of you would believe a lie of hell. It says, well, it's too late for me. I'm too old. I've made too many mistakes. Listen, Noah was an alcoholic. Understand, he was a drunk. I'm not trying to be ugly, but I'm just trying to help you understand. He loved the bottle. He loved what grew from the grapes. And he was 500 years old and 500 years of full of mistakes. And he said, you know what? I'll start building this boat and I'll save my family. If I don't save anybody else, I'll save my family. And he saved 8 people. It was Noah and his wife and Shem and Ham and Japheth and their 3 wives for a total of 8 people to replenish and start all over with. But he made it into the roll call of faith because he saved his family. Something needs to happen in the modern day church that says, wait a minute, we've got to quit floundering here. We've We've got to quit reaching for just some little form of solidarity, and we've got to get back to the real rock. We got to get back to building our life on the firm foundation, which is Jesus Christ. We've got to get back to saying, if that's what God said, then that's what I'm going to do. As for me and my house. Come on, how many, I'm not being ugly or mean, how many water bottles are you going to grab before you realize that's not going to save my family? But let me tell you what will save my family. If I get, you know what was interesting? And I got to hurry. Dear God, I began to study this out a little bit, and the Bible says that they pitched that ark. Y'all know the ark, right? This is interesting. You never find where God said, oh, Moses or Noah, just build it however you want to build it. No. God said, Noah, here's how you're going to build it. You don't want to know. You want to know how we know how wide it was and we know how long it was? Because God said, this is how I want you to build it. Put 3 stories in it, not 4, because if you put 4, it may flip over. But you build it like I told you, and you build it to these dimensions. And then he made a powerful statement. He said, you pitch it on the outside and on the inside. And you know what our problem is? We don't realize it, but if you're going to save your family, you got to be pitched on the outside and on the inside. It can't just be something pretty that you do when you come to church. It can't just be something pretty that you do on Sunday morning. But if you're going to save your family, you got to do it while you're at home. You got to do it Monday through Saturday. It ain't some little dress that you put on just so you can get to church and everybody think that everything's okay. You got to pitch it on the outside and you got to pitch it on the inside. You got to live it 7 days a week. You got to live it in front of them. You got to live it when you're away from them. You got to live it in the church, and you got to live it outside the church. You got to live it on your job. You got to pitch it on the outside and on the inside. We wonder why? Because the high cost. You could go bankrupt, and it wouldn't cost you as much as losing your family. Hear me. See, this is why, oh God, help me, Jesus. I'm going to make somebody mad before it's over, and I've been doing good. This is why God had to put things in order. He said, you got to have some stability here. And so he said, man, you seek after me and submit to me. And woman, you submit to him. Oh, I don't like that. It's in there. I don't agree with that. It's in there. He didn't ask Noah, just build it any way you want. No, this is the plan. The man submits to me, the woman submits to him. Now, if the man don't want to submit, that's different. But if the man submitted, then guess what? You're responsible. I don't care if you don't like it. You may hate me before this service is over. Pray through until you love me, because I love you, all right? But I understand. And if he's not doing it right, get a hold of his little head and say, hey, Bubba, I signed up so that you can lead me to Christ, not in this crazy junk. So you submit to Christ, and I'll submit to you, and we'll save our children. We'll save our family. But I'm tired. Anybody, can I get a little witness from the women? You get tired of floundering. You're tired of hoping. You're tired of waiting for your ship to come in. You're ready for him to get a hold of something and say, bless God. We're going to live for God in this house. We're going to put God first. We're going to put our family in the church. We're going to pitch it on the outside. We're going to pitch it on the inside. And we're going to stay afloat. And our family is going to be saved. You imagine what would happen? Not being ugly, and I got to close, I know that. She can come and give you some hope. There's a high cost when we just reach for anything. There's a high cost when we just do what we want to do. I understand there's a lot out there pulling for our attention. I understand that's the way God made you, and you're feisty. Guess, I'm not trying to be mean, but even feisty women should submit to godly leadership. I understand church just ain't your thing. You better make it your thing.
That's right.
Because you're going to lose your family if you don't. I know this ain't popular. I get, but can I pastor you for just a little bit? Had one lady tell me, she said, I just call you Brother Vickery instead of Pastor Vickery because you're not my pastor. I said, get out of here. If I can't pastor you, then you got a problem. Does that make sense? Why? Because the Bible says I'm watching for your soul. And if I'm not going to take that lightly, you don't take it lightly. Is that all right? You don't want me to take it lightly, so you don't take it lightly. Does that make sense? Hear me. We don't realize the high cost when we choose to just reach for anything. Dad, you hear me? Your family's looking at you for godly leadership. They're looking for you to be the same at home as you are in church. Don't tell them to stay off of their phone and then you don't stay off of yours. Don't tell them to come to church and then you don't come to church. Don't tell them to worship and then you sit down. Don't tell them to listen to pastor and then you don't listen to pastor. Why? I was walking. I'm glad you got Scotland here tonight. I was walking through the church one time, and please don't ever do this to me. And I mean this. Please don't ever do this. Little boy was acting up, and Mama says, Pastor, there he is. He's going to get you. Painting me to be the bad guy. And that little kid froze, and I said, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. And I began to tickle him. I looked at that parent, and I said, please don't do that. Huh? And they weren't being ugly. I wasn't either. I said, please don't do that. They said, oh, I'm sorry, Pastor. I wasn't trying to make you mad. I said, no, but let me tell you why. When he's 16, you're going to want him to listen to me. But if you make him so afraid of me that he'll never come to me and he'll never listen to me, then when he needs me the most, I won't be able to be there. Don't paint me to be the bad guy. Because there's a high cost. There's a high cost. I got to looking. I didn't realize this honestly, and I've read it 1,000 times, but Moses' parents are in there. And all she did, Brother DJ, was make a little basket of bulrushes, Brother Ron, and put Moses in it. And just sit him down the Nile. But she had him for about 3 to 5 years, according to history. And in those 3 to 5 years, she looked at Moses and said, Moses, I don't care what they teach you when you go to that Egyptian school. You're a Hebrew. I don't care what they try to indoctrinate you with, but we worship one God. Understand, you're a Hebrew, Moses. You're my boy. And from the ages of 0 to 5 at the most, understand what I'm saying? At the most 0 to 5, 40 years in an Egyptian school couldn't undo what Jochebed did. It couldn't undo what Moses' mother did. Could you imagine? There's a high cost. We wouldn't have the 10 Commandments. We wouldn't have, if you will, the miracle of the burning bush. We wouldn't have the 10 plagues that God brought on Egypt. We wouldn't have the parting of the Red Sea if she would have gave up on Moses. But she said, there's too high a cost. I'll take the chance. If they catch me, then I'll die. But there's a high, that's the price. But the cost is, if I don't pay the price, we lose. You realize Moses was the one that was not only handed the Ten Commandments, he was handed the tabernacle design plan. He was handed, if you will, he's the one that God hand wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, what we know as the Pentateuch or the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. We wouldn't have any of that if Moses wasn't around. But Mom said, I'll pay the price. Because the cost is too high. Pastor, what are you saying? Can you give me 2 more minutes? When a parent looks at me and says, well, we were going to take our kids to youth group, but we were too tired. There's a high cost there. The price is you got to get up and drive and go to youth service and drop them off, but that's just the price. The cost of you not doing it. Don't get mad when they look at you in the dyers of life and say, I'm not going to church no more. That's the real cost. I've got 3 girls. And Sister Tana, the truth is this. They're going to find somebody like me. How many married couples will say, amen? You can think, I'm not marrying nobody like my mom. I'm not marrying nobody like my dad. You will. My wife gets so mad at me. She said, dear God, I married James Mounder, her daddy. I said, no, you didn't. But I got 3 girls. And can I tell you, there are times I walk in that house and me and Mama just ain't eye to eye. Anybody ever know what I'm talking about? I know she's beautiful and sweet and she's awesome. But there's sometimes I get so out of whack that we don't see eye to eye. And can I tell you, there's times I don't feel like running in and giving her a kiss and taking her in my arms. There's sometimes I just want to get to the house, slam the door, jump in the shower, and go eat and go to bed. But there's a high cost because I got 3 little girls wondering, oh, so that's what love is. So if I find a man that beats me, then Daddy beat Mama, so that must be what love is. Oh, so that's what love is. Dad don't talk to Mom, so my husband don't have to talk to me. That just... And later in life, they marry somebody just like me. And because I didn't want to pay the price to push through my tiredness, to push through how I felt. Remember, God didn't say, hey, Moses, Noah, however you feel about building it. He didn't look down at Moses and say, hey, Moses, just put 10 things on there, however you feel. He said, no, these are the commandments. It's not how you feel. This is it. Build it like this. Because there's a cost. And if I don't press through my feelings and I don't press through how I feel to pay the price, I may not want to pay the cost later. Anybody ever wish you could go back and say, if I had to do over, I would have done it like this? So here's my question. Noah was 500 years old. And he started over and said, okay, God, I'll start today and I'll build that ark. And if I don't save anybody but my family, here's what I believe God was saying. God was saying it's never too late. And if you'll save your family, you're a hero in my book. If you'll save your family, I'll put you in the roll call of faith. I think he looks at me and says, hey, I'm not worried about you saving all of Beaumont. I want to make sure you can save your family. I don't care if you save all of the Golden Triangle, but you got to save your family. what would happen if we really got a hold of this tonight? And we said, you know what? If I'm going to save my family, I better put some pitch on the outside, and I better put some pitch on the inside. Because they're not just watching me at church. They're watching me at home. They're watching me when we're out at the yard. They're watching me when me and Mama's in the front seat and they're in the back. They're watching me how we talk. They're watching what we do. And I better put some pitch on the outside. And I better put some pitch on the inside because they're watching me. And I don't care, devil, how many mistakes I made. I may have 50 years of mistakes. Noah had 500. I'll start today. And as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Let's all stand together. I ain't got time to preach this tonight, but there's people watching you. Brother Jason, there's more than your little girl watching y'all. There's new people coming into church just looking. And they're saying, hey, this is how to be a Christian. And every day we're teaching them this is how you really live for God. This is how you really serve God. Sister Krista, I want to apologize to you. I mean this. I felt so sorry Sunday morning. Been coming a couple of services and glad they're coming, but you look lost as a pony in the woods Sunday morning. And nobody sat beside her. Nobody helped her corral those 4 kids. And we're better than that. Victory, I'd have gave anything to have you here and not sick Sunday morning, because I knew my wife would have sat by her. My wife would have prayed with her. But I want you to know there's other ladies besides my wife that would have done the same. We're better than that. I apologize. We're better than that. And we don't realize when we have an off Sunday and we don't want to pay the price to be the saint of God that we need to be anyways, there's a high cost. There's a high cost. And can I say this? I've learned after 41 years, Brother Adam, I'd rather pay the price than the cost. I hope that makes sense. Brother Ron, did you hear me? I'd rather pay the price than the cost. I don't want to know how much it costs. Just tell me the price. I'll gladly pay the price, Brother Scott. Because I don't want to pay the cost. Do you want to destroy your family? Is there somebody here that would say, you know what, I'm tired of paying the cost? Oh, God. I'm tired of floundering, and then the first little solid thing that comes my way, I just grab it, don't even think. I just grab it and hold on and let it take me where it wants to go, and I end up sinking anyways. I'm tired of living like that, Pastor. I'm tired of paying the cost. I'd much rather just pay the price. I want to open the altar tonight to moms and dads that would be honest and willing enough to say, that's it. As for me and my house, I don't care what the price is, we're going to pay it. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. I don't care what it takes. I don't care the battles I have to battle. I'm not giving up on this. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. As they begin to sing, I open the altar for somebody in the name of the Lord. In the name of the Lord. For somebody to come around. You don't have to be embarrassed. I'm not going to call you out or anything like that. But if you just come around and say, wait a minute, I'm tired of paying the cost. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Come on, husbands. Come on, wives. Come on, children. Put your hand at each other's back and say, we're going to serve the Lord.
As for